In today's video, I'm going to be walking you through 2 methods to get to your first $5,000 in profit selling low content books through Amazon Kindle Direct Publishing and Audible ACX. What is going on, guys? Welcome to the channel. If you're new here, my name is Dane, and on this channel I talk all about self-publishing books on Amazon, on entrepreneurship, and just lifestyle in general. So if that kind of thing interests you, make sure you subscribe, drop a like on the video, and hit the notification bell so you know when I post new videos. In today's video, I'm going to be going over 2 main strategies for your low content books to get to your first $5,000 in profit, not just royalties, but in profit on Amazon Kindle Direct Publishing and Audible ACX. Now, I know a lot of people think that it's impossible to make low content books for Audible because they just doesn't work. You can't get them long enough, or it's like, if it's like a handwriting book or a coloring book, it's like, how does that translate over into audio? So I'll be breaking that myth, or ending that myth today. And I'll be showing you there's different ways to do it through what I like to call DIY style books. If you're familiar with my channel, you've heard me talk about them before. But also with low content books, you can do it. And there is a couple different strategies that I've personally utilized in the past to get to my first $5,000 in profit on just Audible alone. And if you're going to put these 2 methods together, you can make even more money. So just keep that in mind. So without further ado, let's jump on my computer. I'm going to be showing you the 2 main methods. There's a low budget friendly method and a higher budget method that I'll be walking you through, but you can combine the 2 if you want. It's totally up to you. So without further ado, let's jump on my computer and let's talk about it. So as you can see on my screen here, I've got some slides I'll be walking you through. Very simple slides, only a couple of them, and I'll show you some examples on Audible and on KDP to further get my point across in terms of what I'm trying to say here with these slides and how you can get to your first $5,000 with your low content books, because these 2 methods are the 2 methods that I utilize in the beginning on top of my high content books. So I paired the 2 together with high content books. I guess I had 3 strategies, but these are just focused on low content. These 2 strategies here. These are the 2 strategies that I utilized to get to my first big months when it came to KDP. You can see on screen here some of my bigger months. So as you can see, the first one is called the lower budget method, and it's focusing on DIY / low content audiobooks. All right, and just audiobooks alone, not focusing on KDP, because if you don't have a high budget in the beginning, when it comes to lower content books, it can be difficult to get your books rolling on KDP because there's a lot of competition. In order to get past the competition, you need to have a bit of a higher budget to spend on ads, which will become apparent in the next strategy. But if you have a lower budget, focusing strictly on audiobooks with low content books is a great way to start making money in the beginning and start making profit, because there's not really any ads on Audible. There's only a few costs, which I'll go over right now. So first things first, when it comes to excelling with this first method, you need to find a DIY style niche that will work on in audiobooks, and I'll show you what I mean in just a second. But the reason I call these books DIY style books, because they're kind of in between the low content traditional books, which are like journals, empty blank space books with like coloring books, stuff like that. And they're in between long form books with like 30,000 words, maybe around 10,000, 15,000 words. But even though they're shorter, you can still get these things to 3 hours. And let me explain why. So here's an example, is kids riddle books. Okay, and this was one of my niches back in the day, and this did quite well when it came to audiobooks. Next thing to ask yourself is, can I make this 3 hours or more? And when it comes to kids riddles, I did this numerous times, so yes, you can do this. And just think about it, there's kids riddles, kids jokes, there's tons of other kids books that make sense with this method that I'll show you right now. So here it is. Yes, repeat the riddles and the answers. Give the listener, time to come up with their own answers before saying the answer, etc., etc. So that might sound a little bit confusing, so let me give you an example. So if you're thinking about a kid's riddle book, usually there's like maybe 500 riddles, and for a riddle, it'll say the riddle, and if it's a question riddle, usually is, because you're going to ask the kid or whoever's listening or reading the book a question. Read out the question maybe 2-3 times so it's clear to them, because if you're listening in audio format, you can't see it visually. So you want to make sure you read out the question, get your narrator to read out the question 2 or 3 times. And again, that's going to take up more time as you roll through it if you think about it. After they read out the question, ask the narrator to wait 5 to 10 seconds. All right. And why are we doing this? It's because we're letting the listener have the amount of time to answer the question on their own before the answer is just blurted right out. You don't want to have the riddle and then the answer narrated by the narrator instantly after the question is asked. That's not going to make much sense, because you got to treat these books more like a game book rather than a book that someone's listening to if it was like in the self-help niche or something like that. Make it a game for the listener. So again, you want to read out the question 2 or 3 times, give the listener 10 seconds. Okay, at this point, you've added around 20 to 30 seconds for that single riddle. Then you want to read out the answer 2 or 3 times just so they can hear it and it's clear to them. And that blank space in between, it's not low quality or anything like that. Like it's not like black hat strategies. It's actually something that's legit, because someone wants to listen to that question. If they're listening to that book, you give them that extra amount of time to listen to it, kind of comprehend it, come up with their own answer, and then the answer gets said, and then they can check if they were right or wrong, and then you continue on to the next one. And even though your book might have like 10,000 words, all of these pauses and repetition over time throughout the book, if you have, say, 500 riddles, added up in your head, it's going to take a very long time for the narrator to read through it. Your book might actually exceed that 3-hour threshold, because the 3-hour threshold is what takes your book from like $6 if it's below 3 hours to like $14.99 on Audible, which gets you a way bigger royalty, which is where it makes sense to make an audiobook out of these books, and you make a lot more money off of them when they are 3 hours or longer. So if you get that thing to 3 hours, even 5 hours with this pausing and repetition, the more money you're going to make. And you can do this with a 10,000 to 15,000 word book over and over and over again, especially if you're making kids riddles. You can make kids riddles about some type of theme. You can make a bunch of books about kids riddles, and it's not going to cost you very much to get those kind of things written. So here's what I have on screen here. Writing should only cost $200 to $400 per book. And that's pretty low and very affordable if you're getting into self-publishing. If you're going to hire a ghostwriter to write these riddles for you or joke books for you, it's not going to be very difficult to do it, because there's only like 10,000 words. So think about it. You could pay maybe $200 per book. You can make a 5-book series, riddles for kids, like animal-themed riddles, space-themed riddles, bug-themed riddles, whatever you want to do, and you can make a bunch of books out of that, kind of milk the niche, put them onto Audible, and get them 3 hours or longer and make money off of those guys on repeat. Other costs associated with this would be like covers, $10 to $20, promotions, $100 in the beginning when you're trying to use up your codes on Audible. And narration, if it's going to be 3 hours, be $150. Over 3 hours, maybe $200 to $250. So looking at this, the costs are very minimal. You don't have to worry about Amazon ads. And if you can get a niche that makes sense and is in demand, I'll show you right now what this niche looks like. It might not be as in demand as when I started in it, but if you get a similar niche that makes sense with this 3-hour limit mark where you can use pausing and repetition, getting started with low content / DIY style books in this strategy is a great way to do it if you are on a lower budget. Adding all this up, maybe like $500 per book, and that's with promotion, that's with no ad spend. The book is on there, and honestly, you can make that back in the first month. You can double that in the first month. It depends on your niche and how much demand there is. But honestly, this is what actually took me from $0 to $5,000 in profit within the first 3 months or so when I started publishing. This was one of the main methods. So just to give you an example, I looked up jokes for kids on Audible. You can see there's only like 300 results. And lots of these books are 3 hours long, and you can expect that they probably don't have as many words. Unfortunately, I can't see the word count, but this is what the niche looks like on Audible. And it's not a bad niche to get into. There are probably some better ones with lower amounts of results, a little bit more demand, maybe 50,000 average BSR rather than 100K on Audible. But just to give you an idea of what these kinds of books look like, you could definitely do very well with these. And I'm not saying get into these books, this particular niche exactly, but what I'm saying is try and find a niche on Audible that could suit this style, this strategy, number one, that I'm talking about, and really go hard at it. And I just gave you really pretty much the framework here. You can see 3 hours longer, use that repetition, use those pauses, and you'll definitely make a lot of money from this. Moving into method number 2, which is the higher budget method. And this is focusing on one KDP niche. Okay, we're not focusing on Audible here. Focus on one KDP niche and making it very, very high quality. So this requires a higher budget, and I mentioned this before, but again, requires a higher budget because you'll need to spend more money on Amazon ads, since the niches that we're going to get into with this style are going to be a little bit more in competition, or a little bit more in demand, which means a little bit more competition, which again, with low content books, it's very difficult to find particular niches that aren't high in competition but have a lot of demand. Okay, so for the most part, most of these niches are going to have a bit of competition or a lot of competition. So you're going to need to have that ad spend in the beginning to set your book apart from them. What I'm going to say about this method is don't make hundreds of terrible quality low content books like most people do. And this is what sets people up for failure. They want to make 100 million different books. It's a hyperbole, obviously, but they want to make tons and tons of books in the beginning because they think each book's going to make them like $4 to $5 per day, and that's going to add up to a bunch. But a lot of the time, these books make you absolutely zero per day because they're just not very high quality. Instead, find a niche that is very in demand, like I said, and don't worry about competition too much. Obviously, if there's like 100,000 results, there might be a bit too much competition, but find a niche that has a decent amount of competition, maybe 20,000 results. I know I say a lot, keep it under 5,000, but if you have the budget with Amazon ads, then if there's a lot of competition, but the demand is there, it's going to be worth it for you in a lot of the different cases when it comes to low content books to get started with it if you have the budget for the Amazon ads. Within that niche that you find, make a series, maybe 5 to 10 books, depends on how much you can make and how far you can stretch that series, that have different themes, but are all centered around the main niche. Okay, and so instead of the first point I made up there, making a bunch of different books in different niches, focus on that one niche, but make different theme books within that niche. For example, there is scissor skills, okay? And this is one of the most popular low content niches that people have been getting into this year. But I just want to give you an example, all right? So the different niches you get into, we don't have to get into this one. I'm not specifically recommending you get into this niche, but it is just a good example to show you. So if you're gonna get into the scissor skills niche, you can make different themes, like maybe 5 to 10 different books about different themes, but all focus on that same scissor skills keyword, okay? Because that is in demand. And if you make these books high quality, you only have to make a few of them for it to really take off and start making a lot of money. And trust me, I've done this in the past. And this was another method that I used to really get my publishing business off the ground in the beginning. So some themes could be like safari themed, ocean themed, space, dinosaurs, bugs. Obviously this is like a kids niche, so you want to make sure they're kind of kids related. Then have different pictures related to these different themes within the book for the scissor skills for the kids to do. And I'll show you what I mean in just a second on Amazon. Another one is kids Sudoku. Different themes you can make are like easy, medium, hard, expert, pro. Very simple stuff. And I don't really recommend you get into this one. It's pretty competitive, but you could try it if you had the high quality enough books. You could definitely get in there and do very well. So the first one here you can see is scissor skills, and you'll see there's different books within this. There's around like 20,000 results. The demand is definitely there for these books. You can see just by looking at the first couple here, 500 in books. Obviously the lower the BSR, the better. So this book is doing very well. You can see BookBeam is estimating around 186 to 300 sales per day, roughly $354 in royalties per day. So that's making that's making a good amount of money every single month. And that's just one single book. So just think if you were able to make a series out of these books with different themes with them, you can see this one's like animal theme, preschool, for different ages, different themes, whatever it may be, make that series out of them, make a good high quality brand with a good cover design that's congruent throughout your entire series. This could do very well, in my opinion. Also looking at another one, which is Sudoku. I said it's a little bit more in competition. You can see there's like 50,000 results for this one, so I don't really particularly recommend you get into it. But it has a good example, which is this one right here. You can see there's like, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 books in there, and there's like medium, expert, easy, and they have like a certain amount, 1,000 puzzles per book. So just to give you an idea of how you can get into this and really take advantage of making a series out of a high quality book brand that's focused around low content books, which are pretty cheap to make. All you really have to focus on right here is making sure the covers are high quality, making sure the interiors look good, and then making sure you have the budget for Amazon ads in the beginning, because it can get expensive if you're going to go with something like this, which would be a lot of competition. But clearly, if there's lots of competition, usually there's a lot of demand, right? So with low content, like I'm saying, it's kind of more difficult to find those lower competition niches that still have the demand. So save yourself the time of looking for those little gems and get into these ones that have higher competition. But if you have the budget to spend on Amazon ads, the demand will be there. And if you have the high quality books that get the good reviews that are in a series, I definitely think you could do well with this one. And one last thing I did want to mention before I let you guys go is that my program right now, Publisher Supremacy, is on Black Friday sale. So you'll see on screen here, there is a code. Pretty sure it should be Friday 1, all caps. That'll get you $200 off of the original price of Publisher Supremacy. Right now, the price is $9.97 to join that program. But if you're interested in getting in, then now is the time. If you enter in the code Friday1 at checkout, which will be linked down below, you'll get $200 off. You can join us all in Publisher Supremacy, which is my paid private program. It's going to walk you through from A to Z how to get started with your own self-publishing business, whether it's low content or high content books. The program covers it all. So if you're interested in that, again, Friday 1 at checkout, it's linked down below. You'll get $200 off. and I'll see you in Publisher Supremacy. That is pretty much it for this video. I hope you enjoyed it. Quick thing before I end this one off, if you're not in my free, it's 100% free, self-publishing secrets Facebook mastermind group, the first link in the description down below will take you to that group. You can join it. There's a few questions you got to answer. Join the group, and the first thing that you'll see when you join the group is my 5-step guide to making your first profit with self-publishing online. So it's pinned to the very top of the group. All you got to do is join it. So if you want to join that group, it's down below in the description. There's tons of people in there. This picture says 2.5K. There's actually over 5,000 people in there now. So there's tons of people for you to meet in the same kind of space, same kind of mindset, mastermind with them, network with them, make friends, and ask any kind of questions. I'm active in there as well. So hope to see you in that group. Anyways, guys, that's it for today's video. If you enjoyed this video, again, make sure you subscribe, drop a like on the video, and hit the notification bell so you know when I post new videos. Try to post new videos every single week about self-publishing, lifestyle, online business, entrepreneurship in general. So if you like that kind of thing, again, make sure you subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video. Peace.